Welcome back to Inside the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm Paige Kornblue, and theoretically speaking, it's a good day for college football.
Oh, yeah. Always a good day.
Always a good day. The host of ESPN West Palm's popular show, Theoretically Speaking, Theo Dorsey, joins me on Inside the Boca Raton Bowl for his take on the Boca Raton Bowl, covering the game, best of, also bowl season, the latest sports trends. We're going to dive into his journey in sports broadcasting as well. Theo, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Paige. It's been a long time coming.
I know. This is it. I was like coming in, I'm like, gosh, this is going to be so much fun because you could just push play with Theo and we're good to go.
That's the same. Hey, likewise with you. And this is our first time actually doing something collectively like a show on the mics together. So I'm excited for this. When you hit me up, it was like a dream come true there.
Oh, you are the best. And I'm always a big fan, kind of behind the scenes, getting video of you do your work.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and our many interactions at the Boca Bowl and
right.
around the a lot of the events. So yeah, so we've been
over many years.
Yes.
Yeah, and back in WPTV days and all the things. And recently with Eli Manning, we were both working that one. That was awesome when he was in town.
Great interview. Great dude. One of my first guests, actually, on Theoretically Speaking, and still the guest that has the most Super Bowl rings. So I'm looking to, look, if we find anybody with more, pull up, we'll still have to.
And look, we parallel because he kicked off this show, too, Inside the Boca Raton Bowl with Eli Manning. So not bad, right?
Not a bad start.
Not a bad start. You are a dynamic sports broadcaster. You have, you're the voice at ESPN West Palm, behind Theoretically Speaking, now on 106.3 and streaming on YouTube.
Yes, streaming on YouTube at Theo Speaking. If you want to subscribe right now, that's free to subscribe still.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And jam-packed with info there. Many might remember you from WPTV, WFLX. You've covered sports in Georgia, North Carolina, right?
And I'm from Houston, went to school in Virginia. I'm all over the map here, which is perfect when you talk about college football because the footprint is everywhere.
It is. It is. Talk about the excitement behind college football. What do you love about the game?
Especially this time of year, this is probably the best time of the year because it's still early enough in the college football season where there's optimism all throughout. So what I love about it is the tradition. I love the regionality of the sport. I love the passion of the fan bases. Like we talked about the different places I've covered it. I was in Georgia for the start of the Kirby Smart era when he took over that Dogs program and they went from Mark Richt to now the guy that has 2 championship rings. I was out there in North Carolina covering ACC football to see Wake Forest become a puncher, a heavy puncher in the ACC more so, as well as, North Carolina, Mac Brown pulling up there and Duke somewhat having a year or two with some good quarterbacks coming through. And then now here in South Florida, my 4th year, we had a Florida State team up in Tallahassee that had the immaculate run they had. You got Noles fans everywhere, still bitter from what happened, but also hopefully optimistic about what they can do down the line if they get things right. And then you got the Canes, you got the Gators fans everywhere. And then here we go, a UCF budding program out there in Central Florida who's trying to take that same roadmap that the Utah team and the TCU team of Group of 5 to Power 5. And who knows? FAU could be soon on that trek. I don't know, but the route is there.
The route is there. And, when we get our community captains, our main big volunteers together and our executive committee members for the bowl, and we all have a fun, who's going to win the national championship this year poll. Yeah. You can tell all the Owl fans because they are tried and true and they are like, FAU, and it's just so much fun. We have fun going around the room.
That's the beauty, though, of the 12-team playoff. I'm not saying that FAU will win the national championship anytime soon, but they can. There's a route, right? Like if you can win your conference and you can be in that top 25 and be the highest Group of 5 conference champion, you can make the 12-team playoff. It's a lot easier than what Cincinnati had to do in the 4-team playoff. So don't doubt those optimistic, those blindly optimistic FAU fans right now, because a couple years ago, nobody saw that Final Four run coming.
This is true.
And enters Dusty May, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
That's right. Well, okay, so speaking of the 12-team CFP, how would you break it down for those maybe who are not so familiar? I'm sure you've talked about on your show. There's a lot more to talk about. But talk about these new routes and how you break it down.
The coolest thing about the 12-team playoff, number one, I would say for anybody that hasn't, gone through the specs of what it could look like, the easiest way to do so, hop on a video game if you're a gamer. get on that CFB 25 and sim through a season or two and play it through and see exactly how those 12-team playoffs are made up. But the easiest way to put it is the top 4 conference champions in the nation get the top 4 seeds in a bye. The next 4 highest-rated teams in the nation, they get a home game, not a bowl game, a home game to play those following 4. So, again, that's 4, 4, 4, making up 12. And I'm most interested to see that round, that opening round where you have a 5-seed team, likely this year like a Notre Dame if they can run their schedule, and they get a home game in South Bend against the number 12 seed, which will likely be a group of 5 conference champion. And there's so many names to pick from there, right? Like you could be looking at, who knows, an FAU, right? Like that can be, and that's the thrill of it all. Like imagine this in December, you have the FAU Owls led by Tom Herman going out to South Bend, trying to take on the Golden Dome, the guys out there in Notre Dame for a spot in the Final 8 to be 3 wins away from a national championship. Like that's why this time of year is the best, and that's why I'm in love now. I was against it. Like, how did you feel when the 12-team playoff first was introduced?
I was against it too. I said, wait a minute.
It's too many. And you're a Michigan Wolverines fan, so the door was always open for y'all to win a national title. Now it actually becomes more complicated for those higher-ranked teams, so those big, sturdier programs. And now there's actually a door for the new teams. And the thing that enlightened me the most about the 12-team playoff this year, every year I, for the Capital One Orange Bowl, go out to ACC kickoff in Charlotte where we preview the college football season for the ACC teams, right? And one of my annual traditions there is sitting down with the college football playoff executive director. Bill Hancock just stepped down last year, enters in a guy by the name of, I'm blanking on his name right now, Rich, I can't believe I can't remember his name. But what I will tell you is,
I should help you, and I'm not.
Rich Clark.
Rich Clark. Oh, from the Navy.
Rich Clark from Air Force. 38-year Air Force veteran.
Okay.
Retired a lieutenant general. And the most telling part about his story, outside of the fact that he is a serious dude, any fans that think they're going to be complaining about not making that 12-team playoff, have one sit down with that dude, and I bet you shut your mouth, right? But outside of that, Rich, he enlightened me on his journey. He played football for the Falcons back in the day, not the Atlanta Falcons, but the Air Force Falcons. And he was on a team that actually ranked top 5 in the nation at the end of the year. So that means that some 30 years ago, that Air Force squad could have been the number 5 seed or 6 seed in the college football playoff. They could have had a shot at a national championship, and that same thing reigns true today. So it's funny, like as you have the new turnover, as you have this new college football landscape, you have people in place who could have benefited from it happening 30, 40 years ago who are excited for the future, excited to see those fan bases that are able to get into this world that they were never really allowed access to. And it's just, again, I'm a eternal optimist. I love spreading joy. I love good energy. And this time of year in college football is nothing but that. So I'm happy for it.
Well, and not many are knocked out so early, right? We've got a lot of room for improvement. And when we thought December was exciting before in January, forget about it. Now, this year, it's game on.
Wall-to-wall games, too. Like, we got all kind of games that matter between the NFL and college football, just like starting mid-December through mid-January. I'm just going to black out and just watch football. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and meantime, I'm going to be busy wall-to-wall Boca Raton Bowl come that time of year. Importance of the Boca Raton Bowl to South Florida. You have covered it from day one.
Literally.
I mean.
Literally. It's funny. That was the first, like, I don't remember my first kiss. I definitely don't remember, like, my first bike ride. I don't remember my first sportscast. I remember the first event I covered when I came to ESPN West Palm in December of 2020. And that was the Boca Raton Bowl at FAU Stadium, Howard Schnellenberger Field. That was
we started
BYU.
in 2014.
2020. I'm saying my first Boca Bowl. Yes.
Bowl. Okay.
I remember the first event I covered at ESPN West Palm, right?
Cool.
So I started in December, the first week of December, and you got to go through the training process and everything like that. And a few weeks in, boom, a chilly Tuesday night in Boca Raton, and they're like, hey, this is like our Super Bowl. This matters so much to this area. It pumps a lot of dollars into the area. It expands people's knowledge of what Boca Raton in South Florida is from across the nation. And I saw that up close and personal, even in a COVID year when you had BYU come in and UCF, which, I mean, again, they're more local, but they came in as well. And then I saw that guy, Zach Wilson, number 2, prolific, off-platform throws, exciting, was lighting it up. Boca Bowl MVP that year and goes on to be drafted number 2 overall to the New York Jets. But that was my introduction to South Florida. That was the first time, actually, I heard my voice or any work that I did was played in South Florida. I'll never forget being at FAU Stadium and turning the corner and seeing the Howard Schnellenberger statue right there, big and bold in front of the stadium, in front of that little sand pit. And as I'm walking, I was actually walking with one of my ESPN West Palm teammates, and I hear a familiar voice. I was like, what the heck? I look up, turn back and look at the Jumbotron at FAU Stadium, and there is a piece that I did, and my voice playing out loud in front of a stadium of at least capacity of 30,000, but it was COVID, so I'm sure it was a lot less. Nobody else paying attention, right? But I'm locked in because I'm like, wow, this is the start of my journey in South Florida. Something that I voiced, something that I put together, being broadcast out here to college football fans in a way that I would have never imagined. Weeks ago, I was a high school English teacher. I was delivering packages for Amazon. I was pressure washing stuff in Houston during COVID because there were no sports jobs open. Now I'm living my dream, and who would have known, right? Like, that was the start of something special. I've now been here for 4 years. I've covered every Boca Bowl since, and nobody in that stadium, including me, that would be the start of a journey to a guy like me covering sports at a big-time level at PTV, winning, working on stuff that would win awards there, starting a show, theoretically speaking, right? Like proposing to my fiance then, and then, marrying my wife here in South Florida. It's been a fast 4 years here. It all started, right there at the Boca Bowl. So I'm eternally grateful, not just to the blessings that God has put into my life, but, to the Boca Bowl. That's where it started for me here.
Isn't that awesome? That's really cool. I think you have seen it through some of the pivotal years, right? And as it keeps growing and keeps strengthening as a game and in our communities. Behind the scenes for you to cover since that year, since 2020, what is it like? Because that's a rare perspective that many people don't get to see. Yeah.
The Boca Bowl is funny because, number one, you never know what you're going to get, right, when it comes to teams. Sometimes you do get that in-state team like a UCF, in the past, like an FAU who's playing at home. But then you also get the App States of the world. And last year you get Syracuse, who's coming in from the ACC. And again, they were scraping ice off their windshields and plowing snow in the morning before they boarded the plane to just drop off in paradise to play some football. Like, it's great to see a look in those guys' eyes and talk to the coaches about experiencing South Florida and being able to bring their programs here. It's also enlightening to see just how much they care about. I think the juxtaposition of how hard the end of that college football season is for the kind of teams that we're able to bring in here for the Boca Raton Bowl to now them walking into paradise, it feels like they're even more awake and lively and happy to go out and do the community service projects and events beforehand at like the South Florida Fairgrounds. Or, of course, to go enjoy the beach day. Or to go to the big, college football forum that we have beforehand every time. Like, the players are actually locked in and enjoying themselves, and part of that is location, and also, again, part of that is just a wonderful job that y'all do at ESPN Events, yourself, Doug Mosley, of putting together a great event and making it kind of all-encompassing to the families, the fans, the players, and the coaches, and everybody that comes out.
Yeah, well, I've never seen so many jump into the ocean at that time of year as these guys, right? No matter what the temperature is, for those of us here, the Floridians, we're like, hey, it's a little cold today. They don't care. They're ready to go.
That's their first thing. That's their checklist. That's number one. We'll practice. We'll get the practice for the game, but we got to hop in that ocean.
Real quick, some of the key games that you remember from Boca Raton Bowl thus far.
How about we just start with, it feels like every year there's records broken, and you get that obviously when you're now going into your 11th year, so the history's not as rich, but the history keeps getting richer and richer every time we bring a couple teams into FAU Stadium. I go back to the Bailey Zappi year, Western Kentucky. He came in, Bailey Zappi, who now, I guess he just got cut by the Patriots. We'll see if he ends up on a roster. I think he might have got picked up. Did the Chiefs get him? I'd have to go back and look. But Bailey Zappi, who went on to play for the New England Patriots, was the quarterback for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. He came into that game knowing exactly how many yards he needed and how many touchdowns he needed to set single-season records in the NCAA. Not just he came into that game knowing it, the fans knew it, the coaches on both sides knew it, the defensive secondary going up against him knew it. I knew it with my camera in my hand, ready to document history. And with all of that pressure, not just locally, but the national attention on it, because he was setting out to break Joe Burrow's record, who at that point had just made that long run to the Super Bowl with the Bengals, and his name was blowing up. So the fact that this guy, Bailey Zappi, who started his college career at Houston Baptist and is now trying to break Joe Burrow's record, everybody has all the eyes on him. Can he do it? Will he do it? He did it with ease. He did it without even, it looked effortless out there the way he was moving the ball. And it's those kind of things, right? We got the record-breaking performance. Not just that, but then they scored the most points in Boca Bowl history. And then the next year you get a team like Toledo, led by an All-American corner like Quinyon Mitchell, who just shuts all of that down. Y'all want to score all those points last year? We're going to make up for it this year and hold a team to the lowest amount of points in Boca Bowl history until, of course, what we had USF do to Syracuse this past year. So, again, every single chapter of this thing, the stories just keep getting better. For you and ESPN West Palm, you have a specific show for the Boca Raton Bowl that you highlight kind of things looking ahead. Tell us a little bit about that. So we've been doing a Boca Bowl weekly type show, right? So when I first started it, it had a name that was tied to a former partner of the Boca Bowl, so I won't, give that full name. But we would do it on Tuesdays, and this year I'll likely be actually handing that off to one of my new teammates between Colin Russo and Mike Rizzo, who started their show actually on Tuesday, September 3rd, Russo and Rizzo, which airs right after Theoretically Speaking from 4 to 6 on weekdays on ESPN 106.3. But the idea of that show is, number one, keep everybody locked in on the action. We're gearing it up for the greatest annual outdoor party in South Florida, which is the Boca Raton Bowl, but also tracking some of these group of 5 teams and seeing where they are in the standings and how likely it is that they'll end up ending their season in Boca Raton. Every year I've tried to predict it. Every year I've gotten it wrong. But
what Mosley does, I learned quickly last year when I jumped on board, and every day he'd have a different prediction.
Yeah.
None of them were. It's so hard,
Never.
And Doug is like, he's an encyclopedia in that brain. He knows all of the inner workings. It's awesome.
And who would have guessed Syracuse last year?
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah.
It was not on the radar at that point. So yes, I was really hoping the year that Clayton Tune was slinging the ball around for my hometown Houston Cougars, I was hoping we would get them at the Boca Bowl, but that kind of tailed off. But every single year the matchups deliver. So I'm gonna stop trying to play God. I'll stop trying to be a predictor. I'll let the masters that be, the powers that be, handle business there, and I'll just pull up Wednesday, December 18th, and enjoy the show.
Well, and you get a behind the scenes. You're working with the teams, you're seeing them at all the events, and so it's a kind of fun way to ride through bowl week.
Oh yeah. And that's the fun thing too for me is in the past, of all the bowl games I've covered, the SEC championships, the national titles and things, generally I've only covered day of the game. Nowhere else, at no other stop has there been such an emphasis on the actual bowl week and all of the events leading up to. And I think I really do appreciate that here at Good Karma Brands and ESPN West Palm, that while y'all are putting on those events and bringing people into the community to introduce them to Boca Raton and the greater area, we're also highlighting that. And I learn a lot about the area as well, like especially when I see you have one team staying up in West Palm, another one in Boca Raton, and the fight between these two teams. I remember Liberty was like, yo, we really want to be, at this hotel, and I don't want to say names.
No.
But again, it's those kind of things, though,
that
you don't think about until you're, behind the scenes with it and behind the curtain. So it's fun for me to see.
They have so much fun. Even last year, there was one moment where they had a dance-off, pre-game.
Yeah.
So they have a good time. We're going to take a quick break and much more with Theo Dorsey when we come back. Welcome back to Inside the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm Paige Kornblue. My guest today, Theo Dorsey, Man of many mics.
There we go. Not too many mics at times, if you let my wife tell it.
And we'll get to that. We'll get to a little Theo at home and get to know Theo in just a little bit.
Yes.
But first, sports today, college football today, so many directions, so much growth. How do you keep up with it all?
It feels impossible at times. It feels like to steal a phrase from Brett Venables, who's now the head coach at Oklahoma. You're trying to drink through a hose, or I forgot what he said. You're just blowing and going, just trying to take it all in at once. But the easiest way for me is to just sit back on Saturdays and take it all in, starting with college game day all the way up until whatever rendition of what will be the Pac-12 after dark. But I do think that there's a lot of even as I say that, the Pac-12. And then I think about how that conference that I grew up on that had so many just enshrined memories. You think about Reggie Bush and the Marcus Mariotas and going, Matt Leinertz and the fun teams that came out of the Pac-12. And that's all gone now. They're all in the Big Ten. Yeah. And you look at the Big 12 and you got Colorado back, which is a throwback to even before. And you got teams like Cal and Stanford in the ACC. You got Rhett Lashley bringing SMU from Dallas over to the Atlantic Coastal Conference. There's just so much change in college football. At first, it felt like a lot of people were opposed to it. There's a lot of people against it, trying to cling on to the older days. But for me, I've embraced everything with an open heart. And the easiest way, again, to acclimate yourself to it, it's just to take it in and enjoy the entertainment value, the theater of it all. Because if you start getting too sucked into, that team paid $20 million for their roster, so it doesn't really matter or count. Or you start getting too sucked into, and I'll say this lightly, because it's gone now that they changed the rules in college football, but that team is using a guy to steal signs on the sidelines, and they're making documentaries about it later. I'm sorry.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hey. We're not going there. We're not going there.
You won a title. It's all good now. It's all in the past.
Had nothing to do with that.
But if you get too locked in on some of those things that can take away from the enjoyment, you lose sight of the fact that now Miami has a Heisman hopeful quarterback in Cam Ward who is thrilling the nation with every throw. And now Nebraska, of all places, has a quarterback like Dylan Raiola, who's looking to make that program resurge with a coach like Matt Rule, and how nice that will be for the Cornhuskers, because Raiola obviously has family ties to Nebraska. So there we go. If you're missing that nostalgia, that tradition, it is coming back right in front of your face, because he could have went to Georgia. He could have went to Ohio State, and he chose the Cornhuskers. So as much as some people think that NIL and the transfer portal are ruining sports, it messes up continuity a little bit, but it also is starting to even out the playing field. And I would say, especially here in Palm Beach County, as much old money as we got out here, and as much people that have the deep pockets that would love to see a good football program out here, if you're jealous of what they're doing at Ohio State, paying $20 million for a roster, or even at Miami or at UCF, people need to rally those pockets together and figure out how to start pumping into a FAU program that has the beach in its backyard, an on-campus stadium, and right now a coach in Tom Herman and an athletic director in Brian White, who, again, I don't want to be singing the FAU praises because I don't get a check from them, and also their success is not directly tied to my career. But I just think it's a place that's ripe to be that next program to take that step. You think about Howard Schnellenberger's vision, NIL, 12-team playoff, the new landscape of college football that plays right into FAU being the breeding ground for something special in the future.
And look how far they've come so quickly.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job over there. And, let's rally those troops,
Look,
right?
I'm
Our
getting
hometown team.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't want to, and I'm not Homer at all.
No,
Again,
I know.
Look, I'm not Ken Levicka sitting at this mic, like the
we'll
voice
have Ken
of
another
FAU.
day.
Right.
Right.
But I would love to see it, because it feels ripe for it. And you talk to these coaches, so easy to recruit to South Florida, because look around you. Just look around you.
What are some of the subjects? I mean, NIL is such a monster in many ways,
Yeah.
right? When you say those three letters, and many different levels and layers to it. On your show, what are some of the things you're tackling right now in the NIL sphere?
It's funny, now that NIL is actually, and I'll just tap on it briefly because I know we're talking college football, but now that it's legal in high school football and actually, in the state of Florida became the 36th to ratify it. It's going into action. This is the first year where high school athletics, not just football, any high school athlete in the state of Florida can benefit from their name, image, or likeness. This is happening, right? Like, I know personally fathers of quarterbacks who are going into their junior or senior year this year who are shopping their sons around, hoping that, hey, like, can we get some scratch to come play quarterback from you? Do you know any boosters around? And again, some of that stuff illegal. So again, I won't say any names or even allude to any programs, but kids are getting paid to play high school football now, and that's just the warm up to the kind of checks they can get to go out and play college football. And to me, it's a blessing, right? Tomorrow's not promised. Not for you, not for your family, not for those that you can impact with the money that you're able to make based off of you being a great athlete and also just a great person. So I love it. You see a guy like DJ Uiagalelei, who's at Florida State right now. He's obviously not a pro quarterback. He's obviously not a guy that's going to succeed at the next level. I mean, he could prove me wrong, but from what we've seen through 4 or 5 years of college football and a few games of this season, feels like the book is written on him. But, hey, he got a $400,000 plus dollar deal from Beats to do some NIL. Mm-hmm. He also got, another deal. Are these Beats right here? You
no,
point to the headphones.
I'm just
okay,
saying,
I was about to say.
for those that don't know.
About to take them home.
No.
Beats headphones, yes, by Dr. Dre. And also he got another deal through, like, Quick Trip to do some, gas station commercials and whatnot. Who knows how much money in total DJ Uiagalelei has made through NIL just by making this last trip to Tallahassee. I know Florida State fans are mad at him. I know there's a lot of people hating on him because his abilities aren't matching up to what Jordan Travis provided.
Yet.
Right? And it could happen, right? Hey, but I will say this. That dude is able to provide for his family. That dude was able to make some Skrilla on his name as he's playing the college football game. And let's think about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, before NIL, when that would have been the end of a road. Somebody who dedicated their whole life through Little League, through middle school, through high school, through college, to one thing, one singular thing, and that's making it to the NFL, playing football at the highest level, and they were never able to benefit off of it. At least he was able to benefit some off of it, and let's hope, like you said, that Mike Norvell and DJU figure things out in Tallahassee and his story continues. But I think that's the thing that I am most grateful for, is that not just him, but so many across the nation in sports outside of football as well get to be compensated for all of that sweat equity, all of those long hours they spent in those sports that they're passionate about.
Yeah,
that was a long-winded answer about it. But that's how I feel.
It's a good. Well, and you are ingrained in youth sports and high school athletics here in Palm Beach County, South Florida.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit now and kind of what you're seeing in terms of football right now in our area.
It's big. It's as big as ever. There's teams now that are. I mean, the gripe with this area in Palm Beach County is at the FHSAA level, state titles, have been, vacant. They've been gone. Literally, there was one that was won in 2015, I think, by Pahokee, that was literally vacated because of some violations. The last state championship at the FHSAA level that was won by a Palm Beach County team, 2013 at Dwyer, with Jack Daniels, who's now the coach at Cardinal Newman, leading them, and their quarterback is going to, he's started the season as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots this year in Jacoby Brissett. That was the last state title, 2013 Dwyer. So there's a lot of teams out here thirsty to be that next one to snap that decade-long streak. And that is, it's showing in the way that these teams are now starting to pull players from south of Boca Raton, from Dade and Broward County, to come play football out here in Palm Beach County. There's some very powerful schools playing on Friday nights here that are going to be producing some pro prospects. And this year, I'll say this, for anybody that's just like curious what angle, what way it's going right now in high school football right here, this year is going to be defined by the wide receivers. There's like 5 dudes right now playing in Palm Beach County High School on Friday nights that you can go see for $10 that'll likely be playing on Sundays. Not just Saturday, Sunday. That's how a high-level talent we have at the wide receiver position right now in Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast. We have some speed demons, some guys that have, an amazing ability to go target the ball at the catch point, and the route running has been prolific. They got some sweet feet out here. I don't know if it's the coaching or something in the water, But this year, it's about the wide receivers, and I love it.
Well, and I remember since I was a little girl when my dad would pull out the newspaper.
Yeah,
What's that?
What
right?
are those?
What are those? And it is so exciting. And then we'd see, on Saturdays, these guys from our area playing ball and doing so well. And it was so neat to see our hometown guys. It's such a breeding ground historically and moving forward in the sport of football.
Two-thirds of the Patriots quarterback room, right? You got Joe Milton, Pahokee guy. You got Jacoby Brissett, Dwyer guy, and then you got Drake May. So it's funny how many people don't realize, the two-time MVP Lamar Jackson played high school football in this area. Khalil Mack, who just had 17 sacks last year for the Chargers, still going, played right at Fort Pierce Westwood. This is like you're watching the pros before they're pros. Maybe you get an autograph or two.
Yes, let's do it. And you're watching them every step of the way, which is really neat.
Yes.
So this pro, we're going to come right back from a commercial break and hear a little bit behind the mic about Theo Dorsey when we come back.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm Paige Kornblue, joined by Theo Dorsey. ESPN West Palm, theoretically speaking, is the show.
That's it. That's it right there. Me and my guy C-Cat, weekdays, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, 2 to 4.
2 to 4, yep. 2 hours. We just expanded. I'm excited about it.
And we can find you on the dial. We can find you on YouTube, streaming.
Yes, at Theo Speaking on YouTube and on the dial at ESPN 106.3, or download the ESPN app, which I'm sure most sports fans have. Go to Listen Live. Go to West Palm. There's so many ways to tap in. There's no excuses, Paige. No excuses.
Nope, not anymore. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up at ESPN West Palm, and a little bit beforehand.
Yeah. I'm a country fella. Not that country. Grew up in Mo City, Texas, southwest of Houston. It's been popularized by people like Travis Scott. He's from Mo City as well. And I went to college out at Hampton University and HBCU. In Virginia, my home by the sea, the illustrious, and that's where I met my freshman year. My now wife, we were both freshmen. I met her the first week. We were best buds, and then senior year, I caught her looking at me. I caught her like kind of giving me that eye from the side. I said, "Hey, what's that?" And the future is what do they say? The rest is history, right?
The rest is history.
Ended up marrying her down here in South Florida, but after Hampton, I got my first job in TV in Albany, Georgia. At WALB, I was doing half sports, half news because it's so hard to get a job in sports coming out of school. You got to really prove yourself. I was able to do so there, and literally a year and a half in, actually, my very first boss, Barry Soash, who gave me my first opportunity, she brought me in her office one day, and as I was looking to leave Albany, she actually offered me the job to be the first, the job is just to be the sports director, the lead anchor for sports and the face of sports for WALB. What I didn't know at the time that she offered it to me was I would have been the first black sports director in Albany, Georgia, at a station that's been there since 1954, covering athletes that are predominantly African-American. And at 23, 24 years old, I didn't understand the impact of that. It really resonated when I did accept that extension and stayed there. And, that extended my stay in South Georgia to about 3.5 years. I covered everything out there. I saw the SEC championships with Georgia. I saw the birth of Kirby Smart going up against Nick Saban. I saw so many great things there. But the biggest thing that resonated to me was that community and I are forever intertwined because I represented something that they hadn't seen before or felt before, and that was a voice and a face that understood them, knew their perspective, and could tell their stories in a way that was pleasing to them. So I'll never forget the 229 in South Georgia. That's forever in my heart. That shaped the way that I am as a sports broadcaster. And I told some of my favorite stories there and some award-winning work there. I still miss it. I got to get back soon. I'm getting emotional thinking about that area.
Yeah, what an impact. And I applaud you for that. That's awesome.
Yes,
awesome work.
I appreciate it. And then after that, I went to North Carolina. I was doing some news reporting and sports anchoring there in the Piedmont Triad. Left the industry for a break to come back home to Houston. And I was able to see my mom get her doctorate. I was able to watch my little brother finish his high school year of basketball. They won the state championship. And then the pandemic hit. About a year out of the industry total, where I was, again, delivering Amazon packages. I started a pressure washing business. I was teaching ninth grade English, filling in for a teacher that was out on maternity leave. And I also was refereeing basketball games and getting yelled at by a lot of fans and parents. Hey, stop that nonsense. That was really hurtful.
Kids are having fun. Let them play the game.
Yes.
And be nice to the guys in
the stripes. Yeah, we donating our time. Well, not donating. They did pay us decently. It was a nice check.
Yeah.
But it was tough. And then there was in the midst of my lesson plan actually that fall, teaching of mice and men to a bunch of eager to learn ninth graders. I got that call from Good Karma Brands and ESPN West Palm that they were ready to open their door, and I've been in South Florida for about 4 years now.
How lucky are we?
Oh, I'm the blessed one, but you know what? Likewise, the feeling's mutual.
Real quick, you mentioned you were an Amazon delivery driver.
Yeah.
We are so what's the word, where we're just expecting those packages to show up. I mean, how hard is that job? I mean, we just expect it to come so easy, and they're just delivered, and where are they? Why aren't they here? It's been 3 hours, It
is tough.
I can't imagine.
And the funny thing is, I'm such a competitive dude, right? Like, it's in my nature that whatever I'm doing, I live by this creed of how you do anything is how you do everything. So no matter when I was refereeing, when I was doing a little helping with coaching, when I was teaching or delivering packages, I want to be the best. Same thing here now that I'm at Theoretically Speaking at ESPN West Palm. I want to be the best. I'm studying the greats. When I was delivering packages, the one thing I didn't like was it didn't pay off to be the best when you're delivering packages with Amazon. And anybody that's done this will know exactly what I mean when I say the vaunted word rescue. So a rescue when you're delivering packages is, let's say I load up my truck with 280 packages. Everybody does the same in the morning, about 6:30, 7 a.m. We load our trucks up, 250 to 280 packages, depending on the day and the route. And you go out, you deliver your packages. You can either deliver those packages slow and take all day until about 7 p.m., or you could be like me, get on your high horse, get a couple Bang energy drinks, and bust them things out real quick. And if your package was in my truck, you never had to worry on the delay. I was getting it to you. The problem is, if I would empty my truck out by about 2:30 in the afternoon and I'm thinking, okay, this is great. I can shower up. I've been sweating out here in this Houston heat. I can go enjoy a happy hour. Guess what I get? A call on the way back to the station. Hey, Lorenzo's struggling on his route. Can you go rescue him? Can you pick up about 50 packages from him and keep your day going? And don't let it be a double rescue day where I go help out Lorenzo and then Shauna also needs help and now I got to rescue 2 people. I don't get home till 5:30 or 6. I delivered 400 packages. Like, that was the hard part of the day. But the blessing was there would be some people, and that's why I always do it whenever I see a delivery driver now. If I have an ice cold Gatorade or a water in my fridge, I try to reach out and get it to them, especially if I see them hustling, because the blessing in that Houston heat, every now and then, somebody would look out and give me an ice cold Gatorade, and that would give me a little recharge as I'm trying to get through the day. So
great tip there.
Yeah.
Thank our drivers. Thank our drivers.
Please, you don't got to give them no cash tip. Just give them a little Gatorade or a water. That's it.
How's married life for you?
Oh, it's a blessing. Yeah. I love it. The funny thing is, honestly, it's my wife and I agree. It doesn't, because we've been living with each other since I practically moved to South Florida, it doesn't feel that much different. But that's because we've been soulmates, we've been locked in, we've been fully committed to one another, so we haven't been living any differently before the wedding. The great thing is now we have all these pictures, we got the memories, we got the beautiful video that we were able to get. I mean, my guy Drew out of North Carolina, we flew him down for it, amazing. So like my photographer Courtney, they were both great. Like, it's the memories from it. It's the honeymoon in the Dominican Republic, and it's also, just the other like circumstantial things that you do, like turning in a marriage license, her changing her last name to Dorsey. Like, those things I try to be fully present for and embrace, because other than that, still just kicking it at home with my homie, like still just kicking it with my day one. So I always tell my friends, everything's going to change that one day when we're bringing another Dorsey into the world. That's when things are really, really going to change.
That's true. In media, we don't get much sleep, but that's when you're going to be prepared for it. I always said news prepared me for parenthood.
Yeah.
Because you're used to crazy hours and all the things, that it's no big deal for us. So.
You're right.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I'm ready for it. I'm hoping I'm ready for it.
Just someone screaming at you at the same time, not just a news director.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to talk with you and break it all down. I know we could, and we will be doing it over and over again coming this fall.
Oh, a little hint, a little preview, a tease, if you will.
Hey, if I ever need some Boca Bowl help, you're on it, and I know you're a phone call away, and it's so appreciated.
Say less. I'm looking forward to it, Paige, and I appreciate you bringing me on your platform.
Of course. Anything else you wanted to mention as we wrap up?
I would just say, hey, get ready for that Boca Bowl. Wednesday, December 18th, right? Like, we don't know what teams are going to be there, but if we know anything from the past, records are going to be broken, and a good time will be had. And also, subscribe on YouTube to Theoretically Speaking, at Theo Speaking, and tap in with us at 2 o'clock. I like to look at it as our show. I take callers. I go back and forth with people. I sing the praises of my favorite teams, but I'll also listen to yours. So it's a joint venture. Come and join me on it.
Yes, and we're going to put all those on our website, all the links to that, too. Be sure to follow Inside the Boca Raton Bowl at the same time.
Yes,
right?
yes, 2 clicks, just 2 clicks.
Two clicks, that's all we're asking.
Inside the Boca Raton Bowl, then Theoretically Speaking, and we're fine, we're good.
And come on out for Bowl Week and game day because it's so much fun. We're all out there. You guys record live on location.
We'll be doing a live broadcast like always. Those are always fun. Last year, I busted my tail catching a pass from Stone Labanowitz in the end zone before the game. That one went a little semi-viral on YouTube and Instagram, so we have a lot of fun game day. But you're right, it's a week-long venture.
It's so much fun. Well, come join us, and thanks for joining me today, Theo.
Thank you, Paige.
All right. Until next time, everybody. Cheers.